Action Comics 1091, Mark Waid writing with SKYLAR Partridge on the art. So they pulled a little. So the cliffhanger last time, just to sort of recap this, is basically Superboy or Clark was lured out to this event with these villains, the one from the future, and the military were waiting because the mentor teacher dude had lured them out there. And this issue kind of addresses that. Obviously, he realizes this seemed like a trap. He gets away, of course. He uses his powers just to get away at the start. No big deal. But he's very concerned, as is his parents. So Clark confronts the teacher next day at school. Was it his name Captain Comet? Is that his name?
Yeah, it's Captain Comet, but it's Mr. Blake is the teacher.
I can remember either name. I was like, what's his goddamn name?
Yeah.
But yeah, he goes to him and demands to know something, blah, blah, blah. And the big thing here is that it turns out, and I guess this answers that one complaint we kind of kept having, is like, if he's working with Sam Lane, why doesn't Sam Lane know who Superman is? But it turns out he was just setting up those connections with Sam Lane to test Clark in this situation where Clark couldn't use violence or his powers to just fight whatever it was he was getting away with. Because he's not fighting a villain here, he's getting away from humans that he doesn't want to hurt. And then Captain Comet tests him again later by insisting that he not take him back to space, and Clark thinks it's the right thing to do. He kind of demands it a little bit, but then sort of backs off and says, well, fine, I can't force you, and walks away. And he's like, oh, well, that was a test to make sure that you would never force someone to do something against their will, because you very easily could. But it turns out that he's actually sick. He got a disease in space, and maybe he can find a cure in space, but he wants to make sure Clark has been taught all of his lessons and is good, and he's going to be a good hero for the world. So they kind of try and pull a little thing here where by the end of this it's meant to be kind of a sweet story where Captain Comet's actually a good guy who's been testing Clark for all the right ways and reasons, and it's like a happy sad goodbye because he's going off into space to hopefully find a cure for himself. I think the writing of this issue was good. The art was good. I liked the flow again. I'm liking the way this book's had a really good pacing so far. I love Lana pulling Clark up for ditching the date, last issue, and Pete intervening to try and help when the bully shows up. All the high school stuff. Yeah. I'm into. I'm enjoying that.
I really like that because when she calls him by his full name. And he's like, that doesn't happen that often.
Yeah,
right? She's yelling at him.
That's a good example of the art really working in a moment because his face just kind of goes, ugh.
Yeah, and as he's standing there, this whole scene just takes place around the locker, but the way that Partridge draws it, right? Everything's very dynamic and cinematic, and then it spins around, and then the bully that he got upset with, embarrassing. He wants to get his revenge. He's like, do you want to get punched in the stomach or the face? Right? And Clark is trying to de-escalate, but the guy's not having it. And that's where Pete comes in. So again, I just love all the teenage stuff here, because it does show that Clark's always been Clark, right? He's always had this mindfulness to him that, he's different than everybody. And how is he going to get out of it? Which is the entire Captain Comic, storyline in a small, what am I trying to say? In a microcosm, right? It's everything that Captain Comic's been testing Clark for is something that's been inherent in him. Well, the way he's been raised.
This gets us back around though to the question though, is maybe the thing that feels just I don't know if it lands for me completely, this idea that it turns out he's just a completely good guy. Because I'm I'm going back to the narration from the last few issues and all that, this should have been my first red flag. That should be my second red flag. I don't know if that narration makes complete sense to me now, if it turned out he was a good guy the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe what they're trying to say with Clark with that is he should have noticed this before that he was being tested, right? And what type of person just tests this kid that he doesn't know? Maybe that's what that meant, right? But I left this issue thinking oh no, he's a good guy and he's just trying to make sure that someone with this amount of power. But why does he get to be the one to do that? Why is Captain Comet the guy? That was my main question. Who is he to test Superboy in this? He doesn't represent anybody. He's not working with Sam Lane.
I mean, I don't
So-
really have a question. I just don't think it feels right. I think the end of this issue made me want to root for this character of Captain Comet and make me like him. And I kind of just still feel like, I don't know, I've been kind of just spending the last 3 or 4 issues being suspicious of him. And I don't think they successfully turned me around to be going, oh no, he was a good guy all along. And maybe part of that is because the narration was heavily implying, in hindsight, that he is a bad guy, even though it seems like he wasn't. So all Superman was really doing in the narration was saying, "Oh, that should have been a red flag that there was a lie here." But like, I don't know. I just it feels a little bit murky. Like, I actually like most of the issue. It's just that like main plot detail and that turn in that character feels a little bit. I don't know. Just it feels a little bit disingenuous to me, or at the very least, it doesn't feel right. Where at the end, I didn't feel. I don't think I felt what the issue wanted me to feel at the ending. I just kind of went, oh, that's like an interesting or weird turn for that character, without actually feeling for it, which I think is what the book wants you to do. So, you know, it is what it is. But I mean, it's a very pleasant read, this Mark Waid Action Comics run so far. Yeah. Like, everything is really pretty. It flows very well. All of the teenagers. It's kind of like, you know, like if you're watching like a TV show, right, and it has like, you really like the show, you really like the characters, you really like kind of the vibes of the show, but it just has like a kind of a slightly dodgy episode where you're like, okay, the plot there wasn't that great, but I liked everything else about it. That's kind of, I guess, what I felt here. And it's not that I don't like anything in the plot. Like, I do like this idea of like Clark dissecting the frog in science class, which is this crazy thing that you Americans do apparently. And
I never had to. We dissected a cat.
That's not an improvement.
I know. I knew that was going to make you horrified.
That's worse. Jesus.
Yeah. That was high school anatomy class.
No,
it wasn't fun. I didn't like those days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Schools don't do that in the UK. Just FYI. Maybe I'm sure if you actually specialize in university to go and do, you know, something that you would need to learn how to dissect and look at animals or humans, you would do that, but like not in school. Anyway, you know, him realizing that he could sense that he was sick, right, and realizing that's something he can sense with his powers. You know, I like that kind of lesson, that kind of moment of realization. But yeah, you know, just a little underwhelmed by the actual kind of resolution to the Captain Comet stuff, just because, like, I'm like, okay, right, so you're telling me that he's a good guy and I should care about him going off into space, and it's meant to be this kind of sweet goodbye at the end. I don't know. I just didn't feel it.
I definitely feel Clark's been played by the end here a little bit. You know, like he gave him the boost out of there, you know, because he was out of gas, right?
Yeah, but you feel he's been tricked. I mean, I don't think that's what the ending's getting at all.
Just, I don't know. I just feel by the end here, I felt like something's still a little bit off. Like I'm still not sure.
That's the problem. As I don't think there is anything off. I think that's the problem with the books, like teasing what he is for the last 3 or 4 issues, the way they have, for this to be the outcome, is that something still doesn't feel quite like it fits together in your head, and that's why I think you're having those feelings, because that's kind of why I feel like it doesn't quite work either. So but they want you. They want you to feel like, oh, this is a happy ending, and Clark's like, oh god, he was just testing me, and I understand all those tests now, and I'm going to wave goodbyes. I push his ship off into space. I don't think it's meant to imply at all that he has been got by Captain Comet.
Yeah, because definitely that last page seems more hopeful than it would assume, right? Just the goodbye or good luck, Superboy, and then just that gorgeous image of him up, you know, in the atmosphere, and just the city behind or beneath him, right? All the lights or whatever, and then the wave. So yeah, definitely a weird one, I'll say. And then while you're talking, I was also looking up the Justice Alliance team that again, a Mark Waid addition to the DC continuity that it was apparently, which, you know, only I read. The first time they appear as this team was in the New History of the DC Universe, right? They had a blurb in there, which is why they felt familiar, too. So yeah, again, Mark Waid playing with his version of the DC history here through all of his other books.
Yeah, Yeah, so it's still a pleasant book. I just have a little. I don't know. Just the story doesn't quite for this character just didn't quite feel like it fit together for me by the end. Like I get what they're going for. It just maybe some little misdirections feel a little disingenuous along the way to make us think that he was a bad guy, and it still doesn't quite add up for me. But what do you give it? Action Comics issue 1091.
I'm gonna straight 7.
Yeah, I think that sounds about right. Because I still think it's good. Like, I still think it's a very pleasant read. Like, I want to make that clear that I still had a pretty decent time reading this comic. It just, by the end, I was like, I don't know if I got the feeling that was mighty provoking me.